Morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name's Jessica, part of the tax team at Bevan Buckland. I'm joined today by my colleague Tyler, who's also from the tax department, and Lucy from our bookkeeping team. We'll be here to assist with any questions that you might have towards the end of the session. We're also delighted to have Drew from Xero with us. Drew works closely with firms implementing digital solutions, and he'll be sharing some insights into how Xero supports making tax digital and how its tools can help streamline the transitions for both us and our clients. So today's session, we'll just focus on making tax digital and what it means in practice, the upcoming requirements, and how Xero can play a key role in managing the digital records efficiently and compliantly. If anyone does have any questions throughout the session, there's a Q&A box at the bottom of the screen. If it's not currently showing, just click on the More option and then it should be there for you. I'll hand over to Drew now. So my colleagues and I will just keep an eye on the Q&A chat and we'll try and answer towards the end of the session then. So I'll hand over to you now, Drew.
Perfect. Thank you very much. It's great to be here and great to be able to go through Xero's MT for income tax solution with you guys. Hopefully this will give you a clearer understanding of what's required from yourselves, but also how you can work in partnership with Bevan Buckland to ensure that you're fully kept compliant. But it also will help, prepare you and your business for the future as well. So let's jump straight into it. Give me 1 second, sorry. There we go. Right. Okay. So what's on the agenda? So we're going to first look at MTD for income tax as an overview. So actually, what is required? What is the government requiring from yourselves? What does it actually mean? What are we doing now that's now going to change post April, and what that's going to look like? From there, we will then go into our MTD for income tax solution. So that will show you what it is in Xero that will be done for you, what that looks like, and the ins and outs of the making tax digital for income tax module that we've got in the subscription itself. Moving on from that, we will then go into Xero's smart data capture. Now, this is a relatively new feature that will make keeping digital records much easier. In a nutshell, what will be required from you is to take a picture of that document effectively, and Bevan Buckland will be able to, with Xero, process that in a much more streamlined way, whilst reducing the amount of manual record keeping that you have to do as clients. From there, we will wrap up and jump into any questions that you may have. As Jessica said, you've got the Q&A box at the bottom, and if you can't see that, click on the 3 dots that says more, and that will then show you the Q&A box. So if there are any questions throughout, please use that. The team at Bevan Buckland will do their best to answer those, and if there's anything Xero related, I will get through them at the end. Cool. So, an overview of making tax digital for income tax. There are 3 core principles when it comes to making tax digital. Okay, so the first one is digital record keeping, ensuring that records are maintained digitally for transparency and accuracy. 2 is the increase in frequency of reporting. So instead of reporting once a year, it's now going to be on a more regular basis, which will be which I'll go through on the next screen. And finally, the need to submit through Making Tax Digital compatible software such as Xero. Okay, so these are the three core principles that the government have kind of highlighted as part of Making Tax Digital. So, what's currently being done is a single submission after the end of the tax year, okay, and that you have until the 31st of January the following year, okay. It's currently okay to keep paper records and then submit those to Bevan Buckland, who will then process those and complete a tax return and submit that on your behalf. And whether you've got business and or personal, that will be included in one submission. Okay. With MTD coming in from next Wednesday, effectively, from the 1st of April, it's all going to be about keeping digital records, ensuring that you're sending updates via submissions on a regular basis, and that will be on a quarterly basis, so every 3 months. Filing via MTD compliant software, which in this case is Xero, and and just to highlight, it is a submission for each business. So if any of you have multiple businesses, then it is a submission that's required per business. Okay, and at the end of the tax year, okay, you will then be asked to submit a annual final declaration, which is effectively a summary of the year plus other sort of income and expenditure that may have been incurred that haven't been included in the quarterly submissions. Okay. Now, if any of you have property and a business, then again, you would be required to make two submissions, one for the property, but one for the business, but it can be done under the same subscription. So at that stage, you're not required to have two Xero subscriptions. That can be done under one. Okay. And there are a few different caveats that we can sort of assess on an individual basis after after the webinar, and Bevan Buckland are kind of aware of the different scenarios required. So if you've got any specific questions about your business, about yourself as an individual, reach out to the tax team, and they'll be able to kind of deep dive into that and give you exactly what you'll need. Okay, so that's kind of the core principles and the overview of making tax digital. Let's now take a look at Xero's MTD for income tax solution. Okay, so Xero's MTD for income tax solution is actually built directly within Xero. Now, the screen itself has actually been recently has been sort of enhanced and is much more user friendly. So what we have is a tax menu that sits in this blue banner at the top, which currently is not displaying. From there, we have a making tax digital for income tax option. Once the connection to HMRC has been established, which the team at Bevan Buckland will be doing and assisting you with, this is the overview screen that effectively will help manage the submissions and the final declaration. Okay, it will show you the current to-do list. Okay, so as you can see up here, send a Q1 update. So if we click on view, this is now what Q1 will look like. Okay, so it's a summary of the income and expenditure for the period. So in this case, Q1, it can either be from the 6th of April, so your year can be the 6th of April to the 5th of April, or it can be from the 1st of April to the 31st of March. Okay, either way, you have each quarterly submission is a 3-month period. Okay, once you've reviewed, all the numbers have been reviewed, it's very simple and straightforward. We click the blue button on the right hand side, and we can then click the submit to HMRC button, and that's Q1 effectively filed. Now, what you'll also notice is in the top right hand corner, there is a tax calculation. Now, that tax calculation is an estimate based on the information that's been submitted for that quarter. Okay, what that doesn't currently take into effect is things like personal allowances and adjustments, savings, interest, etc. So it's good to monitor that number, but again, it is an estimate because the full information hasn't been submitted on Xero for it to make a more accurate calculation. Okay, but it's definitely good to kind of give you a guide of what the tax liability is likely to be towards the end of that period. Okay, so that's kind of how the information is collated, right? But in terms of getting the transactions onto Xero, there are there are a variety of different ways that can be done. Okay, so at the top we have a business menu at the top. That will currently change, and that will be broken down into sales and purchases. Again, very self-explanatory. Your sales will go under the sales menu, and your purchases will go on the purchases menu. With Xero, we have now introduced smart document capture or smart data capture. Okay, this can all be done directly within the Xero mobile phone app. Okay, the smart data capture or smart document capture is designed for yourselves to, when you're on the road, you're working away, or at any point in time where you receive an invoice or a receipt from a supplier or you've made some purchases, you can simply open up the Xero app, take a picture on your phone, that will automatically upload into Xero, and Xero would automatically start to extract the information by using AI and OCR technology. Okay, so the information that's going to automatically be extracted will is crazily accurate. It's a much more enhanced version of HubDoc, which you may have heard of in the past. And what this effectively means is it's a much more easier process for you as a client, but it also means the process internally for Bevan Buckland is it's a nicer process because what they're not doing is having to sort of spend time on the chasing and the administrative side. They can actually do the work in a much more timely fashion, a much more streamlined process, and it makes it a much nicer experience for everybody. Okay, so as I mentioned, it's one platform, so it's all done on the Xero app. It's super easy to just capture that document. You simply open up the app, click on the Xero Files button, and take a picture of the receipt. Okay, there's no additional cost to use it. It does come included as part of the Xero package. And like I said, it will then start to use AI to check the validity of the information and make sure everything's being captured in the correct place. Ultimately, what that means is it gives you time back. It means record keeping is done in a much more streamlined way, and it also reduces the amount of sort of back office admin that we would rather not be doing. Okay. It is fully compliant with digital record keeping, which is kind of one of the core principles of making tax digital. But it means that there's very little to no manual data entry, no more spreadsheets, which again can be time consuming but also prone to errors. But it also means once the data has been captured, it's pretty much good to be approved and then populated into the Making Tax Digital quarter that it applies to. The data can be checked and effectively then the quarterly submission can be sent over to HMRC in a much more timely fashion, and we're not kind of leaving everything to the last minute, which is kind of what we're trying to get away from. So there are a number of different ways that can that the data or the receipt can be uploaded into Xero. As I mentioned, the easiest way is probably through the Xero app. And as you can see on the right hand side, there's a sort of demonstration of how that's done. However, if you prefer to email the document in, then that's also a possibility because the Xero files and the smart data capture, every Xero subscription will be assigned a unique email address. And that email address, like I said, is unique to you as a client. And what that will mean is whenever you send a document to that particular email address, it will automatically go into the file section of Xero. Okay, so there are numerous different ways of uploading information. Ultimately, once the document has been uploaded, the process post upload remains exactly the same. Okay, this means that you can keep on top of, if you can get into a rhythm and a routine of taking pictures and or emailing documents as and when you receive them, effectively you don't need to worry about storing that receipt in a folder or ensuring that you file it in the way you would currently be doing things. Because you've got a picture of it digitally, it's stored in Xero. If that wanted to go in your pocket, in the washing machine, in the side door of your van, ultimately it doesn't matter because you've already captured it digitally. And I have to admit, we at Xero use a similar tool for our expenses when we're traveling on the road. And I've now got into a habit of taking pictures of my receipt the minute I get it. In the past, what I would do is I'd put it in my pocket, and then when I got home, I'd submit them all one by one. And I couldn't count the amount of times where I'd forgotten to submit a receipt or it went in the washing machine and I couldn't read the receipt. And that's me losing out on income, on getting my money back. Whereas now, what I do is the minute that receipt gets handed to me, I take a picture of it and I upload it through our expenses app that we use. And that means that that receipt can go in the bin, it can go in my pocket. I don't need to worry about it. And I honestly, it has made my life so much easier. Okay. And this is a very similar concept to kind of what we're getting at here is take a picture of that receipt or email it into Xero and then let Xero take care of it and store it for you. What you do with it afterwards, it's a weight off your shoulders. Okay. When once that document has been extracted and approved in Xero, the advanced AI is then is pulling out all those details and create that record. Once that record has been created, there is one more step that needs to be done, and that is obviously matching it to your bank account in a term in a term of what we call reconciling. Okay, and in Xero, you have the ability to set up a automatic bank feed. So gone are the days where you have to supply your bank statement at the end of the year, or you may be chased for that final page that you may not have received yet, or if there's a missing page in the middle or whatnot. Xero's automatic bank feed eliminates all those issues. Okay. There's one simple process that's required from you as a client at the beginning, and that will be to connect your online banking up to connect to integrate with Xero. Now, this is a secure bank feed. It's regulated by the FCA, and all it does is simply pull through the transactions that are occurring in your bank account. So any money in, any money coming in, any money going out. It doesn't have authority to, or it doesn't have the permissions to look at payments and transfers. All it effectively does is look at your statement, digitalize it in a Xero format that can then be imported automatically. Okay. From there, we could the bookkeeping part would be matching up your sales and purchases with money coming in and out of your bank account, and we can then identify what hasn't been paid, provide you with that information, and provide you with that, I guess, advisory service in to kind of help manage cash flow, you know, help you with outstanding debt, and just make the growing of the business much more easier. And we can look at things, I guess, more proactively as opposed to at the end of the year when it's kind of too late because the year has now been complete effectively. So There's a benefit in cash flow, a benefit in business growth, and it's just a much more easier process in terms of chasing, eliminates the need to chase manual records again. So what we're alluding to here is actually automating things as much as possible, making your life easier in terms of, maintaining and creating manual records. And we can ensure that HMRC get their information in every quarter. You get a live estimate of the liability that's likely to be due at the end of the year. It's a win-win for everybody all round. So if I was going to summarize this, these are the kind of three steps that I would kind of define them as. So one is capture. So you as a client would capture the document, whether that's through a picture, whether that's through email, into Xero. So there are different options, but it's going into one destination. Okay. Finally, or the second step, sorry, would be to extract that information. Now, Xero, as you can see here, has it has an active AI engine that will read, extract multiple lines of data. Um, it's a market leading tool, and that will then make life easier for Bevan Buckland. They can kind of finalize that extraction process, and then ultimately it's matching those transactions that have been taken from step one, matching that up with your automatic bank feed in sort of very minimal clicks. That creates a digital record. It attaches a copy of that receipt or invoice onto the transaction, hence the digital record keeping part. That will then populate your quarterly submission with the numbers in the relevant tax categories, and that then gets sent over to HMRC. So we're actually fairly ahead of schedule actually, which is always good because this was a quick overview. But what it means is we've actually got some time to answer some questions. Um, so I'm just gonna have a look at the Q&A box, and there isn't actually anything in there,
No, there's nothing.
which is I guess sometimes good, sometimes bad. But you're more than welcome to, if you would like to unmute yourself and ask some questions direct, please do. If you would prefer to use the Q&A box, please put any questions that you have in there and we can address those accordingly. So I'll give you a few minutes to pop your questions over and we can go through them. This may be questions on the process. It could be a question on the Xero subscription. It could be a question for the tax team at Bevan Buckland on what that looks like their end. So I think we have a question. Amazing. So what happens if you don't have a smartphone? So at that point, what I would recommend is you use the email option. So if you're able to scan a particular document and email it into Xero files for the data capture, that would be great. Alternatively, I'm sure if you were to provide the record to Bevan Buckland, they would be able to, um, you know, digitally capture that record themselves internally and process that. Um, I don't know if Lucy or Jessica or Tyler want to kind of jump in
If
there.
I mean, this is such a big change, isn't it? Changing the way you record everything. We can do, if you still want to bring in your receipts, we can scan them in for you and upload them. Obviously, this is going to take us longer to process the information, though. That's the only thing.
But ultimately, there is a workaround for every solution. There's always for every kind of um, obstacle, we've got a solution in place to make sure that you are kept compliant and fully up to date with the legislation. Are there any more questions? I know there's still a couple of you on the webinar, so please use that Q&A box for any other questions that you may have. if there aren't any more questions, I'm going to hand you back over to Jessica to wrap up the webinar. Thank you very much for taking the time to join, and really appreciate your cooperation.
Oh, thank you very much for your time, Drew. We have had another question. Right, will Bevan Buckland be able to operate with clients the old-fashioned way? Yes. Yeah, there will be other options. This is Xero is just one of the options that we are offering to clients who perhaps want to get a bit more involved with it on themselves. But if it's if you want to just continue doing it the way you are, then just have a little chat with whoever deals with the tax, or you could probably a client manager, and they can discuss all the different options with you then. So that's probably the best thing to do. But there are other options, yes. So if there's no other questions, so yeah, thank you very much for your time, Drew. If you do have any questions that you maybe think of later on, just if you know who your client manager is, or the person who normally deals with your tax, just drop them an email, give them a call. Or if you're not really sure who normally you deal with, just give the main reception a call, and they can pass you on then to the most appropriate person then. So I think that is everything really. So yeah, thank you everybody for your time, and I think that's it then. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.